Welcome to KQEG and Seven Rivers Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson. Each week, an inside look into sports, into wellness, and into fitness. And introduce you to some celebrities throughout the greater La Crosse area. Speaking of celebrities, today the spotlight shines brightly a little to the east, West Salem High School, as we have in the studio Braxton, Ghelfi, Alex, Jeranek. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Well, you know, as we tape this show here on April 10th, as we tape the show, the clock is counting down. This key chapter in your life called your high school years is coming to an end. It went by in a New York minute, didn't it, guys?
Yeah.
Braxton, when you reflect back on it, think about it. As you go to bed at night, you think, oh my gosh, my senior year is almost over with. Talk about that.
Well, I know for most underclassmen and stuff, it goes by really fast, and you kind of want to live every game like it's your last. You don't want to regret anything that you did. You just want to play every game and do really well and stuff.
Something tells me that you haven't regretted anything. And you know that there's a study done throughout the world in athletics and just with young people. And many of them live in the temple of regret. Many of them live with not accomplishing all of the things they wanted to do in high school. Any regrets at all with Alex, Jeranek?
Well, I try to not live in the past. I try to think of the future and live in the moment. So I really don't regret anything. It's more I'm proud of what I've accomplished from where I've got to now. I guess I wouldn't say I regret anything that I've done. It's more I'm proud of everything that I have done.
Well, you should be. And as we get to know our two guests today, you're going to find out why they are proud. But again, as we tape this show, you're just getting into the baseball season. You're 5-1. You just had a big win over Arcadia just last night. And you are tied. You're on top of the Cooley. Last year, an incredible year, 16-11. You went to state, getting beat by Wapaka, and you had a great season. Well, let's just kind of go back. You're just getting into the season, even though it's cold out, and your season is in the infancy stages. Braxton, talk about so far. Are you satisfied with how you're playing?
No, I mean, for West Salem Baseball, we usually start off really slow every year. So, I mean, the beginning of the year really doesn't show who we really are. And right now we're just trying to get everyone set back in. We kind of returned everyone from last year and everything. We're missing Drew, which was one of our top hitters, but we're feeling in really well. And right now it's looking good right now. But usually we don't come out till the end of the year and halfway through.
Well, for our viewers to know, I did a little research, and right now you're batting .526 in your early part of the year. You're 9 for 9 in stolen bases. Now here's a question. Our viewers probably know this. In the major leagues, who has the all-time stolen base record? Any idea? You're approaching that. Actually, it's Rickey Henderson. Rickey Henderson, and then Lou Broad after him. Rickey Henderson, 1,400 stolen bases throughout his career. A great leadoff hitter, and leads the all-time record in terms of getting on base, too, which just sort of describes me. So he was called the Man of Steel, S-T-E-A-L, the Man of Steel. And that, when I saw your record, I thought about watching Rickey Henderson, and you kind of remind me of that. You have that kind of speed.
Yeah, I know. Whenever as leadoff guy, usually my job is to get on base right away, and every time I get over it, first call usually gets a fake bunt steal by Coach Ely every game. I don't know, I've just been doing that every game since then, and it adds up the stats, and I'm usually the only one that steals on the team. But
stealing bases, though, is an art, is a science. It's instinct. It's reading pitchers. It's being able to get that jump. So a lot of it's from the neck up, even though you have the athletic skills, too. How do you read that pitcher, and when do you know when to go?
Most times I watch his feet right in between and see what he's doing. And most Cooley Conference pitchers know, and usually I get a couple of throwovers. But then after that, they usually stop, and then I just wait till their left foot comes up, and right as it moves, I go.
Do you ever go on your own without a steal sign?
Most times I get the green light. Like he says I can go whenever, but I usually wait for the steal sign just in case. It depends on what the score is, too. And
Exactly. So you got to have a sense of what inning it is, what the score is, how many outs and all, and who's up to the plate. Like if Alex is up, you don't want to necessarily steal if you don't get a good jump and get out because you know he's going to get a hit. Because Alex Jeranek, next to me, is off to a good year, batting well. He's 2-0. You have 16 strikeouts. And you are off to probably the best year of your career. Talk about that.
Yeah, I have been focusing on my mechanics lately and just fine-tuning everything to start the year off strong. I've been working on hitting my spots, throwing it where our catcher, Trevor, wants me to put the ball. I've been working on changing pace on batters by throwing off-speed. And pretty much all that has brought me to where I am today.
Now, a lot of people model their style, again, and their focus and the way they look at it mentally by watching other pitchers, big leagues, college, and so on. Do you do that?
Oh, yeah. I actually get most of my mechanical work from Sean Gavigan, who used to play in the minor leagues. And he's helped me out a lot with my pitching mechanics and really focusing on my balance point when I come up from the windup. So he's a big factor in how I've been pitching.
When I watch young pitchers, too, that's one of the things that concerns me is their balance point, and a lot of them struggle with that. But, you know, Chuck Ely, who's a friend of mine, been a longtime coach and been inducted into Wisconsin Baseball Coaches Hall of Fame, said this about you this morning when I talked to him. Alex is the ace of our deep pitching staff. No one I'd rather see on the hill than Alex in big games. Besides that, he hits the ball hard every time up. Now, that's quite a compliment from a pretty talented team.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, our pitching staff, we have at least 9 pitchers on the team. And each one of them consistently can throw strikes, and that's what you got to do as a pitcher. It doesn't matter if you're getting strikeouts. You just got to throw strikes and let your defense work, and that's what our pitchers can do, and that's how hopefully we'll be able to make a run in the playoffs this year with our depth in our pitching rotation.
Well, Coach Ely went on to share some thoughts about you, Braxton Ghelfi, and here's what he said. You'd be the best player at any position that he puts you at, and when you get on base, at least 75% of the time with runners in scoring position, you either bring them in or you score. You're a clutch player. That's pretty high compliment, too, for you, Braxton.
And ever since my sophomore year, I've been moved around a lot because my sophomore year, I was at catcher. Freshman, I was at outfield for most of the year was JV, and then I got moved up for playoffs and played center field and bat leadoff. And then my junior year, I got started at center and moved to short, so I played basically everywhere for Coach Ely. And I moved around the batting order, and sophomore year I didn't really find my bat, and finally found it my junior year. And it's really building up to my senior year after working in the off-season, working on my form and stuff.
Speaking of the off-season, do you agree with this quote? Teams are made in the season. Athletes are developed in the off-season. How does that pertain to you?
Well, athletes usually, a team doesn't mean it's full of athletes. Athletes do their time in the off-season to get better at the sport they want to get better at and do their things, and teams getting better in the season because they're working together at that point.
What did you do in the off-season to make yourself a better all-around athlete?
I hit the weights with some of the guys, like me and Alex were up in the weight room every day for the whole winter, and we were trying to get cage work in. I have a buddy that has a cage at his house, Nick Schultz, and we did a lot of hitting work at his house and just hitting all around, hitting at the wellness center. We've had team wellness centers over the winter.
Actually, I work out at the wellness center quite a bit, and I look down onto that turf and I see La Crescent there, and I see West Salem there, but off-season work, paying the price, not living in the temple of regret before we go to break. What did you do when you look at your off-season work, Alex Jeranek?
Like Braxton said, it's a lot of work in the weight room and working on your mechanics. You don't have to throw as much in the off-season. It's more working on your balance point, your release point. From a pitcher standpoint, you want to work on the smaller things, and that'll help make all the bigger picture work.
All right, well, good. We're going to step aside for a minute, and when we come back, we're going to get to know our two guests a little closer, up close and personal. We'll be right back after this.
After 80 years in our beautiful area, it's easy to find a home that's kept comfortable by Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning. To say thank you, we're celebrating our 80th anniversary in style.
When you install a new Carrier residential air conditioner now until June 27th from our La Crosse or Winona locations, get 50% of your purchase back if there's a new record high temp on July 4th. Call now for complete details.
Turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. Today, the spotlight on West Salem Panther student athletes Braxton Ghelfi, Alex Jeranek. Student athlete. Sometimes young people get mixed up, athlete, student. When I look at your resume, when I talk to others about who you are and what you stand for, student first, athlete second. Both great students. Does that describe you, Braxton?
Yeah, and at West Salem, for our coaching staff, they always harp on us about you got to do your work first, and then you can play the sport. And like for games and stuff, we have to get out early. Sometimes our school doesn't let us leave if we don't have our work done. And so we have to get our work done before every game, and if we don't have it done, then we can't play.
High expectations. You said harp on you. That's okay, but probably more than that, encourage you. I mean, as Tony Dungy says, and you know who he is, a great author, coach, broadcaster, athletes are on a high platform. The expectations are perhaps higher for you than they are for maybe others that are not involved in so many activities. Can you accept that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other co-curricular activities, they don't really, yes, you have to have your work done, but like in sports and stuff, you have to get your work done, you have to have good grades, or you can't be a part of those types of clubs.
It's an honor. It's a gift. It's an expectation to be an athlete at any school, at any level. Alex, and your parents, who I know real well, were athletes involved in the club. Your mom on the Boys and Girls Club Alumni Hall of Fame. And with that gift that you were given, you're expected to do a lot. Do you know that?
Yeah, I do. Playing sports is a privilege, and doing schoolwork, you have to do that to be successful later in life. You can always come back to your school, and that's like where you came from, that's your roots. I guess sports are, the second most important thing besides school, because your future depends on how well you do in school for most people.
There's lots of people watching the show, and once it airs, it'll be on YouTube, and it'll be all throughout the world, and people are wondering, how can someday I be a Alex Jeranek, a Braxton Ghelfi? How can I get to that level? What does it take to get there? In real succinct terms, tell young viewers that are in grade school and so on how they can achieve success like you have gotten.
I'd probably say no matter what happens, you can always achieve what you believe in. It's all about consistency. You got to be consistently working in the off season, consistently working during the season, and you have to practice how you play. You can't take any practice time for granted. You have to work your hardest all the time.
A lot of people know who Braxton Ghelfi is too, and if media coverage has been extensive, and little young kids watching, playing out in the yard and so on, want to be a Braxton Ghelfi someday. That's a lofty thing that you are accountable for. Advice?
Just put your time in the off season and dream big. Don't let people tell you different, because there's always going to be someone that's going to tell you can't do it, but you always got to believe in it and do what you can do, and put all the time in the off season that you can. And during the school year, just balance your schoolwork out you have plenty of time to do it in school. So get it done in classes and when you can.
But balance, a key word that you shared. But let's just kind of fast forward. You're graduating now, as we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, and you're going to another chapter of your life. And a lot of people wonder, what's he going to be doing after graduation and then after college? So share that.
Well, for college, I plan on attending Viterbo and playing baseball. And in college, you got to balance it out a lot more because you get a lot more homework. And for college, I'll be majoring in criminal justice as of right now.
Well, good, and I hope our viewers heard that at Viterbo. So we're going to be watching you, and of course we have Viterbo student athletes on the show all the time, and we're glad that you're staying in the area. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when your name comes up as a former student athlete at West Salem, they look in the yearbook, and there you are. You've graduated a decade or so earlier. What do you want them to say about you?
I just want to say that he was good in the classroom, got his work done, got good grades, and was a good teammate on the team. He didn't put himself first, he put his team first.
So that's what your teammates would say about you, too? If I asked them to describe you, they'd say you team first?
Yeah.
There's one of your teammates sitting next to you, team first, and Braxton Ghelfi personal stats second? I'm glad to hear that. In fact, I'm not surprised at that either. But where's life going to take you, Alex?
Well, after high school, I'm attending Stevens Point, and I'm majoring in accounting, and I'll hopefully be playing baseball there, too.
Well, good. You have the skills to do that, too. And then 10, 20 years down the line, you're going to probably be owning your own business someplace, or what?
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, that'd be nice to own my own business.
And so maybe there's somebody in the family that can assist you with that.
Yeah, probably the grandparents.
Probably so. You know, all of us have had people that have impacted us in our life. I can think back to people when I was young that made a tremendous impact. Give me somebody that's impacted you, Alex.
I'd have to say my grandma Marilyn. She recently just beat cancer. She had breast cancer, and she showed me that you can never stop fighting, and no matter what goes wrong, you can always push through it as long as you have your family. I guess I would probably dedicate this season to her just because of how much she does for me and my family and all of her grandchildren, and she's just really been a big supporter of me throughout the years.
Family's big with you, Braxton, and you have people that have impacted you and launched you to another level, haven't you?
I would have to say either my grandpa Larry or Damian Miller. Because Damian's my cousin, and I spend a lot of time with him, especially in the off season. He helps me with my batting whenever I need it. And my grandpa's been there ever since I was a kid, teaching me to play baseball, and he put my first baseball in my hand. Just taught me the game. So
if you hang around with Damian once in a while, who's been on our show many times and is a good friend, and now is the head baseball coach at Cooley Christian in West Salem, so if you hang around with him, your hobbies must be hunting and fishing.
Oh yeah,
that's what he likes to do.
I'm usually always with Damian, especially during November when rut's going on. I'm always at the land hanging out with Damian and his brothers, and Sean Gavigan's also there, and we talk baseball and hear all his stories and stuff. Yeah, he shared some of those recently here. So hobbies, what would, besides being in the classroom and an outstanding student and an athlete, what hobbies does Alex have? I also hunt and fish, and then I'd say being in the weight room is a big hobby of mine. And I also play hockey in the winter, like little pickup games at the rink. With some of the guys, some from the team and some just that are either in other sports that want to play, or guys that aren't in a sport from the weight room that come down and play. So you're kind of an overall, all-around athlete then? Yeah. You like lots of different sports. Mm-hmm. So, well, when you look at different high schools, and they all have their strengths and they all have their identity, what's special about West Salem? I would say they're the opportunities that they give us. They give us a lot of
teacher's assistant programs that we can apply ourselves at. You can do job mentorships during your free periods. And then we have a lot of tech ed classes, like workshops, wood classes, things like that. Those really help for later in life. They're a lot more hands-on than just sitting and getting lectured at.
Lectured at?
Yeah.
Some teachers do that?
Yeah.
Well, that's the way a lot of us baby boomers went through education. Now it's more interactive and so on. But, of course, Braxton, Ghelfi, and the success you've had in the identifying with West Salem is certainly the two go hand in hand, and you've had some special defining moments too.
Yeah. One of them would have to be making the final out at the sectional final game last year. That was a really good moment, and then having to celebrate it with all the guys that I played with since played with them like 10 and under and all the way up till now. Another one would have to be the sophomore year playing against Prescott, and we were tied like 3-3, and then Bailey Valencia hit the game winner. And I got to spend it with them too.
Good, good. As we close the show, what's something people that may not know about you that are watching this interview?
I've never been down south or on vacation really. Farthest I've gone is out east with our school trip.
Good.
Other than that.
Welcome to the family. Come on, when I was young, the first we ever went was Ettrick. You know where that is?
Yeah.
That's not too far away. So, anything about you that is people that don't know besides that is kind of a identity with you? Any game day routines?
Well, let me think.
How about with Alex? Any game day routines that you like to adhere to?
Well, usually if I know that I'm starting pitching that day, a lot of other things don't matter. I usually
Go ahead.
I usually listen to my music a lot right before the game, just to kind of get focused.
What kind of music would you be listening to?
Probably rap.
Rap?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I listen to that, but that's okay. Everybody has a different music taste. Music taste for Braxton, Ghelfi?
Same as Alex, a new rap that comes out.
Okay. Well, we learned something new about you, but probably a lot of young people watching can identify with that kind of music. Well, as my cell phone goes off, we will conclude this interview, but it's been a delight to meet you, and I'm sure all of our viewers, too, are learning something new about Braxton, Ghelfi, and Alex Jeranek. And we only choose certain people to be on the show, people that have special qualities, and you two certainly do. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
All right. We'll be back with some closing thoughts and some highlights from a recent game right after this.
After 80 years in our beautiful area, it's easy to find a home that's kept comfortable by Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning. To say thank you, we're celebrating our 80th anniversary in style.
When you install a new Carrier residential air conditioner now until June 27th from our La Crosse or Winona locations, get 50% of your purchase back if there's a new record high temp on July 4th. Call now for complete details.
Turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. Hey, an enjoyable interview with Braxton Ghelfi and Alex Jeranek. A big win for the Panthers last night over GET, 5-0. The Panthers moved to 9-2 on the season and 5-0 in the Cooley Conference. The red-hot Red Raiders were in action on Monday at Lager Field, playing host to Sparta in MVC play. Let's pick up action in the first inning with Zach Luth taking a Keegan Saver pitch over the left field fence to put Coach Joe Branson's Red Raiders up 4-0. They cruised from there, scoring 6 more runs to send the Spartans home after only 5 innings. Junior Dan Fredrickson picked up the win for the 5-0 Central Red Raiders. Preston Stack and Zach Fellens, both with doubles and 2 RBIs. Sparta was led by Greg Jacobs, who went 2 for 3 as they dropped to 0-5 in the MVC. Central is at Onalaska Thursday. Sparta steps out of the MVC traveling to Westby on Friday. Next week, the spotlight on Logan Ranger baseball. Until then, I'm your host, Terry Erickson, hoping you have an active and a healthy week ahead.